I now request our chief guest to address the gathering.
Chancellor, Governor Wanchu, Vice Chancellor Shetty, and others on dais, and ladies and gentlemen, and students. Thanks for inviting me as a chief guest for the 26th annual convocation of Goa University. I am aware of many achievements, and some of them I just also heard what happened or what has been happening under the able leadership of your Vice Chancellor in his annual report that he just talked about. This is very creditable. I think the reputation that you have got in just a brief period of 26 years, which is a very small period for university. Universities are as old as 300, 400-year-old, as we know, to reach that, and that's the lifespan of university. So it is very, very encouraging, and no wonder I see a long list of luminaries preceding me as chief guests here. I therefore feel very honored today to be here to address as a chief guest. The title or the subject that I am going to talk is what does it take to be successful in life, because I am addressing this mainly to all the students here. But I think it's as much true for the audience here who may not be students but are working, are on into something useful to their career and their families. Actually, I should have been renamed it as what does it take to be successful in tomorrow's life. Why I mean tomorrow is I think we are all going to live a life which is not today or yesterday, but in tomorrow's India. And tomorrow's India is indeed going to be very, very different than India that all of us have lived. At least I have lived, and many of you have lived. I think what has worked well over last decades may not be the way to look at next few decades if you want to be really making mark in this country. It is not that you have to unlearn everything. Of course, there are certain messages, certain things which are common, whether it is 5 years from now or 100 years from now. But having said that, one has to change, and this is about making that change happen in all of you. So you are lucky to have graduated here, and still luckier, as I said, that you will be living a life in India which is going to be different. Let me look at 6 or 7 dimensions of India which are going to be completely different in your lifetime of next 60, 70 years, young people that you are. The first part is about economy, prosperity. I think at least I lived in India which was very poor. It has just now become a middle income country, but in your lifetimes it will be a developed country, and I'm very sure about it. By 20, 30 or 40, we will cross $10,000 at today's prices per capita income, which puts us there. But this is not only about prosperity. I think we should talk about technologies that we are going to use in this country and generate in this country. I come from an IT industry, and we have revolutionized what can be done globally sitting in India. We have made India proud as an industry, but that's just a beginning. We have opened the door. I think you will be working in many other sectors which will also make India proud. Pharmaceutical is one such sector which is already making us proud. Automobile industry is also moving in that direction, and so on. So I think it is economy which is not only just developed, but it is economy which is developing globally quality products which make us feel proud. So that is one dimension of economy, if I may. The second dimension is about education. I think we are yet to achieve a status of a developed or let alone middle income country in education in spite of 50, 60 years since our independence. I hope to see India where everybody is literate to start with, at least in next 10 years, 15 years. I'm looking at GER, which is a gross enrollment ratio, which means how many people in given age group are doing higher education, and I would like to look at a number of 50%. So 50% of people in the age group of 19 to 27 or 25 are doing higher education is what we should aim at. Today it is just 19%. Let me look at third dimension, which is culture and also diversity. I think we have a rich culture, rich heritage, but I think we need to leverage it by allowing people to flourish in arts, in music, in spirituality. I think India will be known as a spiritual capital for the whole world. I was reading today on the way the kind of impact Indian and Eastern philosophies are having even in economy and businesses, to be stress-free, to do business with ethics and honesty. But there is another aspect of diversity, a culture which is a diversity. I think we need to have open access to all the religions, all the castes, all the economic strata, and above all, we have still not used the full power of half of our population. I'm talking of women. I'm looking forward to an India we will leverage power of women to see what India we want to see. And I'm very happy to note today, and I don't know whether you have noticed, I was happy that Goa, and I'm very proud as a Goan, is taking lead in that out of 99 persons who got award today or gold medal and PhDs, 70 were ladies. So 70% is something more creditable because they are just 50%. So I am very proud that we have set that direction, and I'm sure whole India will follow us. We also have to look at environment. That is a fourth dimension. We can't have polluted environment. We can't have deforestation and so on. India is going in a direction of environment, and I look at all of you having much more greener space. I always complain in the city of Mumbai has the lowest open space compared to any other city in the many other cities in the world, or most other cities, which is not acceptable. We need to live a life which is much more pure and much more better than this. And I look forward to you living in India of that kind. Then there is whole issue of health. I think we are still behind, and I'm very unhappy to see that even developing countries who are below and behind us in terms of per capita GDP, like Bangladesh, has much better health statistics in terms of female mortality ratio when giving birth, or infant mortality ratios and so on. I am not going to give you statistics, but I think I'm looking forward that we will move much faster in that area too, with a lifespan hopefully of 70, 75 and 80. And who knows, by that time, people will live 100 very easily. The technology will allow us to do it. And I'm happy to know very microbiology and biotechnology people coming out here would, I'm sure, work on those directions. But all this will not happen unless we have a well-governed country. We need a governance system which need to move much ahead of what we have. We have a democracy. We are very proud of that. But we need much more democracy implementation, if I may, in terms of power to people. I think democracy is people giving power to government. It is not about government having power over people. I think unless we change that paradigm of governance, that we, the people, give power to you. The government servant is actually not government servant. It's he's not a servant of government. He's a public servant. I think we need to change these mindsets. I'm happy of some of the things happening in last few months in terms of awakening of last few years, in fact, awakening of young people to take up a stand against what we need to do. And would like to see more of it so that we have a much better governance system. I have a very good formula for it, but I'm not going to talk about it today, given time frames that we have. I call good governance is tap free. Governance is like air. It should be easily available for everybody to tap free. And tap free has a word TAPFREE. T means transparency, A means accountability, P is participative, F means freedom to expression, R is about responsiveness of government, E is about efficiency and effectiveness of government, and last E is about ethics and honesty. If you do all these 7 things, I'm sure we'll have a much better governance in the country, and I'm looking forward to that happening. I'm sure it will happen. But all this is not enough, right? All of us live in a world which is much better than 200 years ago a king was living. You can talk to many people so easily. He couldn't do that, or she couldn't do it. We can travel in no time, and so on and so forth. But are we happy? I don't think we are still happy. So we need to build a society which is happy, which is a long subject by itself. But the point I'm making is, in this society, if you have to live, what are the few things you need to do well is my main topic of today's subject. So I have 7 points there which I'm talking about, which means to be successful. I think first is about envisioning what success is. And I give an example here. I'm an alumnus of IIT Bombay, and IIT Bombay every year gives awards to some of their alumni as a distinguished alumnus. And I was lucky to be in that list a few years ago. And as I was going to that ceremony, I was looking forward to meeting other people who have done well, probably as engineers and probably as in industry. But when I saw the other people who were getting awards, I was very surprised that there was only one more person like me, in the sense the one from industry, an entrepreneur. But there was one person who was a government officer, IAS officer, who had done great job in nutrition in the state of Orissa. We had one person who had done lot of social service in Northeast. And can you imagine, one of the person was a filmmaker. Now IIT has nothing to do with filmmaking, nothing to do with NGOs and so on. But what it means that they found their way of what success is. Yes, they did IIT, they became engineers. I'm not advising, I'm sure your Vice Chancellor will not like if all of you don't practice engineering or medicine as he has given degrees, but that's not the point. The point is, find out what you are good at, and that journey continues throughout your life. And if you do what you like to do, I think you will be great success, not because just you are educated. And I typically define these things in terms of 2 or 3 things. I say find out what is a large opportunity, and I talked about these large opportunities just when I started. Find out what are your strengths, what you are good at, and beyond everything, find out what you love to do. I think decide what you want to do, and 1 year from now, you will find that most of the things that you have resolved at the beginning of year, you don't end up doing. You end up doing something else. But that is what you love to do. That's a good example. So don't get despondent because you didn't do what you planned to do. You have done something else. So long as it's a good thing to do, you should be proud of it. So you love to do it. So the point I'm making is, have a vision. Without vision, you can't be what you can be. And tomorrow's India's vision requires people like many of you who have vision. So that's step number 1. Of course, vision is just not enough. As many scientists have said, success is 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration. I have been entrepreneur. I started my business with 10,000 rupees in my pocket. And everyone said, what is this IT business? Because As I said, in 1980s, IT was not so well known. And as I very on a lighter side say, my mother still does not know what business I'm in because I can't show her my product because they are in the domain of software. And I have to talk to my all colleagues in US and America where we have offices in the night time. So she's convinced I must be in some shady business which should be conducted at night time, whose products can't be shown. So those were the areas where only hard work could help us to move ahead into what we do. So work hard. I think success will be yours. But just hard work is not enough. You have to work smart too. I think there are many people who keep on digging holes and refilling it, right? That's not the hard work we need. Ask how you can make difference. Ask what it means to improve anything that you do today, 10% more, 5% more. Every year set a target of improving yourself. You see, we in business always say 15% improvement is needed in productivity. If I'm doing 100 applications this year, I must do 115 because otherwise you have no business to be a human being because then you are a a machine, right? If you are doing 100 now and 100 tomorrow, what is the difference between you and machine? If you are a human being, you need to set a target for improvement. So work smart, work hard. That's my second message. The third message in tomorrow's world is going to be, you will be completely interdependent to make success happen. It is true today, but it will be more tomorrow. Because there will be fragments of knowledge which will be defined into 10,000 areas. Even today we saw how many people got PhDs and awards in so many disciplines. And those disciplines means that society is at one end becoming very, very specialized. We need to deliver results which is much more than just specialization, but working together. And working together requires teamwork. Working together requires finding out how you and other person can create something which is good for you and me. It is not about war. Tomorrow's analogy is going to be win-win, where whatever you do, we add value. So in order for you to succeed, your company to succeed, you need to relate on win-win basis. And success is a journey of teamwork, as I've said here. And it is not just about teamwork in your company or wherever you work. It is also about teamwork in your family. Your spouse has to support you. I have been successful because my family, my spouse has been successful to me. My mother brought me up through very difficult periods of my life to what I am today. So I think it's all about teamwork, and this teamwork will be more important in tomorrow's world. The next point I move to is what I call adaptability. Again, going to be very, very important point in tomorrow's world. What I have learned is value of being flexible and accommodative to changes that happen. We always say, right, I have done it this way last 10 years ago, so why should I do something differently? You know, I was in a factory, I am reminded of somewhere where there was assembly line and then there was one place, this eye in between. And then it used to go up the product and then again go down. So I went and asked, what is this? Why is this required here? He says, no, it was like this when the factory started. So nobody questioned it. And it was waste of time. We removed it and then the production went up. The point I'm making is, you need to be flexible to changes in environment, technologies, and they are going to be much faster. Those who will not be flexible are going to not survive in tomorrow's world. Survive not in terms of life, but survive in terms of the impact that they can make. So please be flexible. Now, flexible doesn't mean, flexible sometimes is misused by people, saying that you should accommodate all kinds of things. It's not that. It is about listening to people. It is about looking objectively at the world and say that where I am going behind. Beyond all, you should be open to look at things as they are and not as you think they should be. I think half the time we have a problem because we do not look at anything objectively. I want it that way. That's why you should be like that. But you are nobody to tell anybody to be as you want, right? You have to be adaptable, saying that, yes, this person is as he is or as she is. So open mind, flexibility, and innovative tactics are important, adaptability. However, as I said, my next point is honesty and integrity. Adaptable and tactical, doesn't mean that you have to cut corners. You have to change for betterment. In no way I would suggest sacrifice of integrity and honesty. These are people who believe that end justifies the means. I am not in that. I subscribe that we have to have means also which are valid, which are integrative or honest. Ultimately, it is ethics, honesty, it is being truthful as the cornerstone, and that is my fifth point. In your journey towards success, that trust people will have in you will become much more important in tomorrow's world than today again. Why I am saying that? As I said you earlier, you will have to depend on others to be successful, and they won't work with you unless they trust you. How many times we have heard good, nice remarks about people, and then when that person goes away, he says, "Arey, he is not like that." So we have been very kind, which is fine, but what is important is what people talk behind you, not in front of you. I'm sure many people will talk nice things, just being kind. They are not dishonest, but they are just being kind. So I think find out what people talk behind you, then you will know how ethics and honest you are. But ethics and honesty is not just about financial transactions. It is about honesty with yourself. Honesty being what you are. I'm reading a very interesting book which says most of the people lie to themselves without realizing that they are doing it. It's not that they want to lie, but they just, I have not finished reading it, so I can't give you the final message there. But the point I'm making is be truthful to yourself. The sixth point is giving back. I think in tomorrow's world, people will look for much more charity than what is being happening today in the country. I think US has set an example, in fact, where the giving is large percentage of GDP, I think some 2% or 3% or something, whereas in our case it is 1/10 of that. So I think it is not about giving money, of course. It is about taking a responsibility to make change happen around you, whether it is in your university as an alumnus, you should work hard. We in IIT have something called an Pan IIT alumni, and we work to solve nation's problem in a small way. You could do that. You could take a lead in doing something for society around you if it is not clean, if it is not healthy, so on and so forth. It is all about giving back. And as I said, to repeat again, do contribute back to your university too, because you have got a very education which is very low cost, even by today's standard, even if the fees have gone up. I do feel that university does not cover their expenses through your tuition fee. Only 15% is tuition. Other 85% is given by government, if I'm right, in this university too. Which means that society is paying for your education, ladies and gentlemen. We are here because society has paid. Some fellow has paid the money, taxpayer, call it whoever. So I think you have a responsibility to give back to university and to your society. And the last point that I will make is actually the contra to all that I have said, because there has to be always a last line which is different. What I'm saying is, it is important to aim at success. It is important to look at what you will be from 10 years from now, 20 years from now. However, please remember that every moment is a new moment with full potential. Once I was sitting in my car with the usual traffic jam around me in Mumbai, and I was fretting and fuming about not being able to move forward. And then I observed outside my window a handicapped person on a tricycle with a song on his lips, joyfully trying to find his way around. In fact, just 15 days back, we have our own event in Mastec, and we invited a person who is completely paralysis right from here to down. And that happened in Goa, by the way, when he was trying to dive 10 years ago. So he can only, this part is okay. And the kind of life that he is living is really inspirational, and he talked about it. So the point I'm making is, it is, you might think that happiness will happen only when you achieve your goal. That's not the case. I would like to quote a famous Gita message, Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. I believe this is much misinterpreted message actually. There are various interpretations. To me, Karmanyeva adhikaraste obviously means that it is your duty to act to achieve your goals, yes. But to my mind, ma phaleshu kadachan means don't let your happiness depend on achieving those goals. Whatever you may be future outcome of your actions, you need to be effective, happy now. Happiness is right now as you sit here, as you listen to me. Hence, I must repeat that live life moment by moment. You will be successful. Every moment of your present and future is loaded with immense possibilities as 10 years from now, as 20 years from now. So do imbibe the above 7 practices of envisioning yourself, about hard work, win-win, adaptability, honesty, giving back, and living life moment by moment. I wish all of you a great life ahead, great life where I would like to see all of you taking a large role and becoming leaders in whatever you do. That would be the real satisfaction the university will have, I am sure. Thank you very much.